I was on my way to my rider to talk about their bikes when this happened. One single moment that turned a great trip into a security nightmare. Suddenly, my van, which was full of gear, was a sitting target. This isn't scaremongery. This is what can really happen, and it did happen. And it's why we need to talk seriously about campervan security, as these figures which I'll share with you will show. How would I secure this and also prevent my van from being stolen? My plans were shattered, literally, and my focus immediately turned from the excitement to the worry and the concern. I had a van full of camera gear, my rider bike, and stuff for the weekend, along with the now far more vulnerable Halo 11 head unit and all my camper gear, the fridge, cookers, and much more. My journey was heading north and straight to Wigan, to the home of my rider. I made calls to fix the glass to the glass repairer, but it couldn't be done until Monday, which meant that I actually had several days without glass in this door, which also meant a 300-mile journey home, which I can tell you now, it certainly wasn't pleasant, but I'll tell you a little bit about that later on. I arrived at my rider and my son stayed in the van, just as a bit of security. No, he didn't really. He did actually stay there, but only because he wanted to have a lie down. It had been an early start, so he just wanted to relax and obviously play on his phone as teenagers do these days. The video I'm making, it wasn't even planned at the time. I was just having a chat about the MyRider brand when we spoke about the Disklok. So I thought that I would actually share it with you, as this has been my choice of security since the late 90s. The product has been improved over the years, as Matt explains in our chat, and some of which I'm going to share with you in a moment after I have explained why it's so important. My smashing window experience, combined with that conversation and the figures which I'm going to come on to, made me realise that I needed to talk about campervan security. We want our vans to get out and about, to explore, enjoy the great outdoors. So we don't want to be left without it because some thieves decided that they're going to take it from us. Vehicle theft is currently very, very high. The latest ONS figures state that from March 2024, there were 129,159 vehicles stolen in England and Wales. And that means it's an average of 350 vehicles stolen every single day. How many campervans were stolen is actually difficult to say, as we do know that a lot of campervans are still classified as vans rather than motor caravans. However, according to this research, the value of vans stolen in 2024 was over £200 million. That is a completely crazy figure. We need to be ensuring we can do everything we can to prevent it happening to us. In an ideal world, we would stop it happening to absolutely everyone, but it's just not going to happen. In more than 8 out of 10 thefts, the investigation goes absolutely nowhere, and the data even shows that the chance of a thief being charged or summoned is only 2.2%. So they in themselves are not figures that's actually going to deter the thieves. It's down to ourselves, us, to take those precautions. This means our security is vitally important to prevent us from being the victim. One of the most important concepts in vehicle security, a principle repeated by many other professionals, and what I have said before, is layering your security, layered security. You know, if you think about a campervan as like you would your house, a good defence will consist of a visual deterrent, your CCTV cameras, your gates, your walls, your fences, etc. And then inside you might have your monitored alarm system. The deterrents make the thieves think twice, hopefully, and if they are still willing to have a go, they will hopefully slow them down. The alarm will then alert the police or the monitoring station that something is happening, and then they can take the appropriate action. The goal is to make a potential thief look at your van and come to that simple conclusion: that's too much work, it's too much noise, there's too much risk, I'm going to go and move on, I'm going to find an easier target. It's about creating a few obstacles. No single device is going to be a magic bullet here, but combining them, you can create a security system where the whole is far greater than the sum of its parts. So firstly, that visual deterrence, making it psychologically a harder target to persuade the thief to go elsewhere. Then the physical difficulty, the fact that the thief would have to make noise and the added difficulty in doing that. The alarm would also make a noise, and then the immobilizer, making it harder for the vehicle to start. And then, if the other layers didn't stop them, a tracker will hopefully help recover the vehicle. And when I say tracker, I mean a Thatcham approved device, preferably a category 5, a device that actually needs a subscription to be paid, which then provides that monitoring by a professional service. So what security devices should we be buying? There are loads and loads of options available to buy, and some of them are going to be more effective than others. As technology improves, thieves do find new ways of doing what they do. The devices to prevent it happening also have to evolve, and that's what's also happened with my chosen security device, the Disklok. I bought my first one in the late 90s for my Fiesta. At the time the car was nothing special. I did want an XR2, but it wasn't, which I had then. But in later years I did have the nice Ford products. Yeah, believe it or not, long-term viewers of the channel, I did have Ford cars. A Series 1 Escort RS Turbo, XR3Is, RS 1800s, etc. All which I needed a Disklok for. And no, unfortunately, I don't have those cars now. I did sell them when they were cheap. Even the Series 1 Escort RS Turbo, yeah, I sold it for about 2.5 grand. Yeah, worth considerably more than that now. Until now, the latest Disklok which I had was in 2015, but even since then, the product has been developed further. Initially, I spoke to Matt about where the brand started.
Disklok was invented by my father back in 1992, and as I came into the business after university, that was one of my jobs, was to manage the brand. And you know, as car theft has increased in the last few years, you know, the brand's increased. We're doing more. We've got more export customers. You know, we're revising the product, and it's really taken off again since the craze in the noughties. So,
because you've got is it the platinum now you've got?
We've got a gold edition, which is kind of our standard, and then we've got a higher grade called the diamond, which it passes the industry standard of an angle grinder attack, which we are the only brand to have a device in that category. So it was hard to achieve, but we've done it, and it was a nice project to finish and, you know, achieve.
I then spoke about the hot hatch which I bought in 2015. It wasn't particularly hot, it was only a Ford Focus ST at the time, but they were being stolen as it was the estate. And yeah, they were being involved in criminal activity themselves, but they were a fast getaway car, so theft levels went through the roof. So I needed some new physical security. So what was I going to buy? And why? This is going to get nicked. Theft rates are going up. I need to buy it. What do I buy? Obviously the Disklok, because it was obviously Thatcham Category 3.
Yeah, at the time, Thatcham Category 3, and Thatcham has since closed their classification in recent years. So, you know, we always had Soul Secure anyway, but, you know, they're the more forefront of the device testing now. So, you know, we've got both top grades, diamond or gold. But it's, as you just said then, you know, we've got people still using the original purchase back from the 90s. You know, they're still going. I often see lots of comments in Facebook, people showing pictures of the originals. They're still going strong.
I used to have the yellow one, now I've got the silver one.
Yeah, it's surprising the silver is more popular as a colour. Although there's no difference between just for the colour, but silver outsells yellow 9 to 1, really. Strange, because the yellow stands out more,
which is deterrent, isn't it?
You know, it's one of the features I guess people want. So.
That's what I'm always saying, because people will say, yeah, but if a determined thief, if a thief is determined, they're probably going to get through anything apart from the diamond, obviously. But it's that, if it's an opportunist, nah, I'm not going to bother with that. I'll go and nick the one down the road instead.
The investment in the Disklok is for that criminal to just move on to an equivalent car with no or lesser security.
Yeah. They are such a great company, a lovely family business, which you can see next week as well, because I took out the My Rider 20 for a test drive, and next week you'll find out exactly what I thought of that. Anyway, for my entire driving life, I've used this product for good reason. It's been my choice of physical deterrent, and I know it's the choice of many others as well. It's often recommended in the online groups. And this, like I said, is the first step. There are other hidden devices which you can often not see, like alarms or immobilizers. You can get other physical security as well, which you don't immediately see, and this may be effective, But it's not a deterrent. It cannot be seen. You need that physical device so it can be seen. You should always have something physical as that first layer. And regarding alarms and immobilizers, two that often get recommended are the Ghost immobilizer and the Pandora alarm and immobilizer. Now, I haven't actually used either of these, so I'm only talking about the positive experiences that others have shared with me. And they are both said to be exceptional devices. Even the police have recommended them before, when I know some of my clients have had vehicles stolen in the past. So yeah, they are two other products which you should have a look at as far as the alarm and the immobilizer is concerned. On from that is the tracker. And like I said, a Thatcham system that can be professionally tracked is recommended. And that is actually what I've got in mine. If your insurance company makes your theft cover subject to a tracker, it will more than likely be a Thatcham Category 5 they require. A cheap tracker bought online or a tag will not satisfy this tracker condition for an insurance policy. Make sure you check with your insurer that you're buying the right thing. Now, layering the security does mount up in cost if you buy everything, but you've bought your pride and joy, your dream camper van. You know, you might have spent 40, 50, 60, 70,000 pounds. Surely it's a small price to pay for that peace of mind. This isn't exactly an expensive van, but I've got an alarm immobilizer, I've got the alarm system, and I've also got the tracker as well, which I pay the subscription for, so it doesn't come cheap. Now, even with the best security, a determined, knowledgeable thief could still be successful. We're just trying to reduce that risk. Thieves could also be using relay theft for vehicles with the keyless entry, which we've got on modern vehicles now, and that is actually on the rise. People are placing keys in Faraday cages or even taking them to bed with them, which a lot of other people are recommending. Now, I personally, I'm not sure about this. You know, if you have a determined thief, then you could take your keys to bed with you, but then you might be awoken by somebody in your room who's looking for those keys. So is it just better to leave them downstairs so you're not actually putting yourself in any danger? It does happen. I know for a fact it does, because I know it's happened to people who I know. You know, maybe if I was 6'6" and maybe a little bit bigger, I might have a different view. But as for now, I think I'm just going to leave my keys downstairs. But it's, again, everybody is different. Everybody will have their own opinions on it. The point is, we can only do so much, that it has to be a balance. And I'll explain what I do now. Now, I left my rider and I was staying in Bolton. I needed to ensure that my van was safe, more than normal, because I had no glass in my passenger door. I used a Disklok for the physical security. I have an alarm and an immobilizer and that Thatcham Category 5 tracker, but I was still vulnerable without the glass. People could still easily see inside. They could see that Halo 11. They could potentially just open the door, get in the back and take all my camper gear as well. So how did I solve that? Well, I used my insulated windscreen cover, so it didn't actually look any different to the outside world. People just thought, he's got his windscreen cover around. So it was actually perfect. I was so pleased that I actually had it with me. It wasn't only keeping it secure that posed the problem though. Travelling 300 miles down the motorway with the window wide open isn't exactly a nice experience. Give it a go and see what happens. It wasn't pleasurable, especially when the temperature dropped later on. I was really grateful though that I had a dry robe in the back. This did keep me nice and warm, and I even had to put the hood up later on. It was dark though, so I won't be featured on the dry robe, you know, the page. I genuinely do only ever wear it when I'm down the beach, and I go to the beach a lot, and that's why I had it in the back of the van. Anyway, at least while I was actually on the way up there, it happened during the day, so it was actually quite nice and warm. Shorts and t-shirt, although I do wear shorts and t-shirt in the winter. My son was in the passenger seat, however, at the time, and he did have a bit of a shock. It was a loud bang, and he was completely covered in glass. No harm to him, he was absolutely fine, but taking a picture and sending it to my wife straight away wasn't the best idea he could have had. She was on the phone immediately panicking. Not an easy phone call when you've got the noise of the motorway with the wide open window when you're travelling at 70 miles an hour. Anyway, he was okay, which was the main thing, but I couldn't stop immediately. I was on a smart motorway, and therefore I didn't have any hard shoulder. And would that really be classed as an emergency for me stopping? Don't think it was. So anyway, I travelled to the next services instead. And upon getting out, it hit me how much more vulnerable the van was with a wide open window, and being really grateful for the security that I already had in place. Apart from my obvious belongings inside, which is of course another story, potentially one which we can discuss another day. Thankfully, my layered security gave me that peace of mind when I needed it the most. What are your security tips? Do you advertise that you've got a hidden alarm system or a hidden lock? Or do you suffer the break-in and the damage before they find out? Let me know in the comments what you do and what you think. Let's help everybody else keep the pride and joy safe. And if you haven't got a camper van and you're thinking that they might be too expensive, then have a look at that video here, which I did with Steve, where we had a right good laugh making it and finding out how cheap camper vans can actually be. Thanks for watching, take care, and I hope to see you soon.